Alright, this is Mr. Sanders here, and I just got done watching WWE Night of Champions 2013. And I gotta say, the biggest thing you're gonna hear from me say, or hear me say, is Raw. Because that's what this pay-per-view felt like. It felt like a very expensive Raw, and well, yeah, let's just get on with this. It started, well, I guess the pre-show was the tag team Turmoil match, which, once two guys that actually were kind of over, the Usos and the Real Americans got in, it actually did get kind of good. But it was basically, two mid-roll commercials as usual. Fucking Primetime players and Usos got great reactions, and the Primetime players won. It was kind of unremarkable, but it was kind of a nice way of testing the crowd. And by the way, the crowd throughout the night was actually really, really good. Anyway, next up, I'm not even joking. The moment the fucking show started, Triple H promo, because that's how you fucking open these damn things. So yeah, he's just saying there will be no interference later on. Paul Heyman and Curtis Axel come out saying they needed to get out of the fucking later match. Curtis, I'll admit, I was not having much energy going into this. Curtis Axel talking and Triple H talking did not help. It was just boring as fuck and set up an unannounced match. Kofi Kingston versus Curtis Axel. It was such a deliberate filler, and it was just felt really painfully standard for this sort of thing. By the way, for the tag team Turmoil match, I think I just gave it 5 out of 10. Yeah, Curtis Axel retained, and Kofi was just Kofi still being not having the spike that he needs to have at this stage in his career. And it just felt like a painfully standard match from Kofi Kingston and just more of the same from Curtis Axel, which is kind of what I expect. This one, I just gave it another 5 out of 10, which is kind of just middle of the road meh. After that was just a short little backstage segment with RVD and Ricardo sort of joking around about Spanish translations. And obviously the fucking Twitter exploded with just them saying, how does RVD ask for weed in this area? But anyway, after that was another little segment with AJ Lee and the Divas, basically established, AJ's alone and being hunted by everyone, which led immediately into the next match, which was AJ Lee, Brie Bella, and Natalya Neidhart versus Naomi. It started off with everyone attacking AJ Lee. And I gotta say, Brie and Naomi looked incredibly sluggish. Although I will say AJ and Natalya actually did have some signs that were like, hey, they actually can do some cool stuff. And there were actually a few rougher bumps than I expected just from a Divas match. Problem, my internet died about 3/4 of the way through the match and didn't come back until the ending sequence, which was actually kind of neat. Natalya ended up doing the job. Yeah, that was kind of weird. She tapped out to AJ's submission. I would have figured that the one person you shouldn't have tap out is the one person who does submissions. But anyway, AJ retains. Well, I can't really judge a match where I missed about a quarter of it, so whatever. After that, they did one of those usual panel things with Alex Riley, Booker T, and Santino. I said I used to like these, but I think they're just not that decent anymore. You might as well just have, what are they, usual video packages. And afterwards was Alberto Del Rio versus Rob Van Dam for the World Heavyweight Championship. And the crowd was really into this, and RVD was a great seller. But honestly, the match, again, just felt like a Raw match. It felt like a World Heavyweight Championship match you would see on Raw or SmackDown. So, yeah, Del Rio loses via DQ when he wouldn't let go of the arm bar after the rest count. I give the match a 6 out of 10. After that was Paul Heyman and Curtis Axel cutting a backstage promo, and plus a promo with Triple H and Randy Orton. It was all right build for later events. Afterwards was Fandango versus The Miz in another unannounced match. It was basically a below-average Raw match where it had a fucking out-of-nowhere ending where out of nowhere frickin' Miz beat Fandango with a figure 4. Yeah, this match was pretty uninteresting. 4 out of 10. Bret Hart, insert Bret Hart joke here. The next match was CM Punk versus Curtis Axel and Paul Heyman in an elimination handicap match. It went very straight to the point with Punk very early on just going right to get his hands on Paul Heyman. There were a few clever spots that kind of played with the expected results. And I gotta say, seeing Axel try to carry a match when Punk, or try to do things in a match with Punk, it just kind of shows how much better Punk is than Axel. Because honestly, Axel is one of the most overrated guys they have there. But anyway, Punk gets eliminated, or I should say, Axel gets eliminated via submission. And I gotta say, the reaction from the fans were great when fucking he had Paul Heyman cornered and just started laying the beat down. It wasn't. I wouldn't call this a great match. I would just call this a great moment after all that setup with Paul Heyman and CM Punk. But the ending is probably where it's kind of lost me. Where fucking Ryback comes in, and yeah, he just spears CM Punk into a table and like puts Paul Heyman on top of him, and yeah, he won that way. So I guess fucking Ryback of all people is a Paul Heyman guy. Yeah, because, you know, not someone talented. But anyway, for the moment, I gave it a 8 out of 10. I think this is probably going to be one of those matches that ages badly over time. But you know what? For what my experience watching it here, I liked it. Another panel was after this, and it was ultimately meaningless. But it was at least a break after a cool moment like what happened in Punk versus Heyman and Axel. Afterwards was Ziggler versus Ambrose for the United States Championship. Basically a good TV match with nothing that really stands out. I gave it like 6 or 7 out of 10 because it was just an somewhat remarkable TV match. After that was a Primetime Players versus the Shield of Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. Crowd actually reacted great to the Primetime Players, and there was actually a really nice fast pace at times with great selling from everyone. There was a lot of good energy from all the participants, and Shield retained with a reasonable but kind of sloppy ending. It was a good match that showed the potential in all the wrestlers, but wasn't exactly like scene stealer. Anyway, the main event of this was Daniel Bryan versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. It kind of felt like an everyday Daniel Bryan match, which still means it's very good, but I was kind of expecting a surprise, and there just wasn't. There was like 2 red herrings, and then it was like, what the fuck? The ending was just strange, where the ref very clearly fast counted, and they didn't bring it up or anything, and Daniel Bryan fucking won after kneeing Orton in the face, and it just went off the air, and I was like, what the fuck, dude? Why didn't Triple H come out or anything? It was just, there was a screwy finish. But Daniel Bryan won, which is of course cool, but yeah, that was bizarre, just the way they ended it. But I still thought the match was at least good, even though it did feel like, you know, any other Daniel Bryan match, which again is still a good match. So I gave that match 7 out of 10, and that's my thoughts on Night of Champions 2013. So what did I think overall? Expensive Raw. That's pretty much it. It's Raw, just expensive as hell. You know, there were breaks, commercial. Well, no, there weren't commercials, but yeah, it was basically 3-hour Raw. Actually, if Raw was extended to 4 hours, this is pretty much what it would be like. Yeah, overall, I just did not gain any energy for this show, and I was not fond of this. I'll give this overall 4 out of 10. It wasn't atrocious. It just was not, you know, it's like it's TV you paid for, basically. So that's my thoughts on Night of Champions 2013. Be sure to leave a comment down below on what you guys thought. And be sure to subscribe if you like videos like this one. So anyway, I'm Mr. Sanders, and I hope to catch you guys later. Apparently, in 3 fucking weeks when they're gonna have the next pay-per-view. So yeah, expect the Orton rematch then.